Hey everybody, welcome back. This is only the second video I currently have up on this channel, and it's completely different from the other one because I am a person purely of chaos and can't make my mind up about anything. Hopefully this sticks. You never know though. ADHD does that to you. I'd love to find something that I can really narrow down into and do consistently, but I think more likely I'm going to end up doing something that's just more likely I'm going to end up just doing whatever I want at the time. And maybe I'll be able to keep a slight consistency, but even that's not guaranteed, honestly. I'm just happy that I'm doing this currently instead of putting it off forever and ever and ever, which is what I've been doing. My idea for this video basically was just that I thought it could be fun for me to populate a few different random wheels with like different categories and then spin them and then have to draw a thing based off of that, both to get me out of my comfort zone and to try something a bit different and to see how it came out. I was curious and I thought it could be a fun little thing to make a YouTube video out of. This is the first wheel is the color wheel, just to figure out a color that I have to add in. It's not necessarily going to be the main color because that's kind of boring, right? I just have to add it in at some point. This wheel is my critter wheel, and man, I got a weird one, which I put weird ones in there on purpose, you know, for funsies. Object critter, what does that mean? I don't know, whatever I decide it means, I guess. And then this is my place wheel, like the location or something that maybe it's more of a general vibe. It just depends. And with this one, I got a tower. So that's fun because towers are cool. This is my miscellaneous one, just for a random thing, and I got a hole. What am I gonna do with a hole? Don't know. Anyways, trying to figure out, I wanted to take an object and use it as inspiration for being turned into like a creature or character or something like that. And so that is what I'm searching here. And like, they had some cool stuff, but most of it was objects that were already in the shape of animals, and I don't know why that was the case or how it knew that I was going to be making art like that. It's kind of weird, but also not, you know, super helpful. There's some cool stuff, but if I were to use any of it, I'd feel like I was copying off of someone else's art, which, I mean, I could use it just as inspiration, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. So I ended up looking up simple objects instead, and I got some more of the kind of stuff I was actually looking for, but it was almost too simple and kind of boring and not really what I was wanting. And I was also trying to figure out how on earth I could incorporate it into art of like a tower, and I had no idea. So I decided to go straight into looking up a tower, and I'll be honest, most of them weren't what I was looking for except for this guy, which is more the style I was wanting to go for. So I was hoping by clicking on it I'd find some other stuff like it, and I did, but it just wasn't quite doing it for me. So really, I ended up not using any of these, and I got distracted going on a AI finding spree and reporting things, and so yeah, we're gonna move on from that. Next, I decided might as well look up kitchen appliances, because I've seen some pretty cute kitchen appliances in my time. And then I thought, gargoyles, that could be a good idea. And guess what? I typed in gargoyle and got a bunch of gargoyle that show fan art. Big surprise, I should have known. So I had to type in picture, and then I got, you know, what I was actually looking for. And this seemed legit, not only because gargoyles are really cool and would probably be fun to draw, but also because they're often found on towers. Their mouth has a hole that spews water, which I thought maybe I could use, or maybe I could put a hole in the gargoyle. I wasn't really sure. And then, I don't know, I thought white could be incorporated with like maybe frozen water, like that gargoyle there in the picture, or something like that. And so I picked out several of my favorites, and then I got into drawing, basically. And now I can't say that I drew all this all in one go. The reality is more like I did this bit at the beginning here in one go with like the tracing and figuring out general styles and shapes and ideas maybe of things, and realizing that I could not draw a gargoyle without a reference for the life of me as well. But then I let it sit for at least a couple weeks, of course, before coming back to it. And then I picked it up again and then put it down again and picked it up again and put it down again until finally I took my tablet out into the woods with me at a state park nearby. And that was really got me going. And then I finished it in a couple days. And past that point is really easy. We are not to that point yet. I'm just realizing that I want to make a gargoyle that looks kind of like a frog. A frogoyle, if you will. Which, yes, I do think is clever. Or fun, whatever. And then trying to get the general shape of the wings without tracing. My perspective is pretty off, and I can tell, but I'm not good enough yet to like be able to fix it immediately or realize right away what's up. I feel like later on I fix it pretty well. Still not perfect. I do not draw man-made structures like ever, so this was very new to me. A good like exercise and experiment, and it ended up being more fun than I thought it would be. Part of why I put it off for so long is I was afraid it was going to be super hard and not very fun to do, but I enjoyed it a lot. And yes, I'm going to be doing 3 different line art phases. The really messy first one, this one here to try and get my ideas more cemented. And then this red that you're seeing here is what I did at the state park, where I finally start getting into it and feeling like I've got a bit more of a hang of things. I fixed the mouth so that way the angle felt a bit better, and I'm gonna move that the back eye soon to fix the angle of that a bit more. And I'm gonna be putting the details in. And I recently started doing this more liney, not really cross-hatching, but you get what I'm saying, kind of style. And I've enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoy art that has like a line, like a pin line art with like pin details drawn in and some like cross-hatching for shading, but like watercolor like on top of that. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be going for here. Some of these, I'm doing some really small details so you can't even quite tell what I'm doing for a little bit. Now, one of the fun things that I like doing with the line shading too is trying to figure out what angle or what shape I should use depending on where the shadow is going to be. So like the curves on the belly or under the neck pouch, which I'm quite proud of that neck pouch. That really gives the ugly gargoyle vibe. That and the plumping of the lips gives it some 3D feel and makes it look a bit more gross, which you want a good gross gargoyle. Like, it's not a gargoyle unless it's a little gross. So I think that works really well. Anyways, here I'm trying to figure out how to do the shadow under these tiles, like how that would lay, and I end up doing a bit more complicated and separating it out into like 3 bits, because you know the shadow's falling onto 3 bits that are like offset from each other. I like to think I did that okay. I'm not like 100% sure. I don't have people I can ask, but I think it looks good. I'm doing the shadow on the leaves there at the end of that outcropping thing. And putting some more details in, stippling the roof tiles, and I'm getting close to where I'm going to be, finishing up the shading in the background to make it a bit darker, to make the frog stand out better. And then this is the tower I actually ended up using for my reference, and I did decide to do it instead of cheating and just having the tower be the top of the tower that the frog oil is sitting on, because that didn't feel super great. So yeah, I did just trace it to start, but that's just so I can get an idea of like what I want my layout to be. And then I'm going to go back in later and draw my own tower. And here, that was just me testing out the new brushes I got, which, by the way, those were watercolor Max Pack brushes. They're amazing. This isn't sponsored or anything, but I highly recommend them. I had a load of fun using them. And they're definitely the best brushes I've ever used. I'll likely be using them on just about everything on just about everything I draw or paint from now on. Like, well, digitally. Digital painting. I don't know. Does that count as painting? I think it could. It should, maybe. And then I do my different subjects on different layers so I can erase the colors that gets out of the lines away more easily that way. It's a lot simpler. I'm trying to figure out the trees here, which, forgot how to do trees for a second. Doing it with watercolor brushes wasn't working for me because lightest to darkest with trees for some reason wasn't clicking. So I used a different brush that came with the Max Pack watercolors, which is the colored pencil one. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. I was able to do the mid color first, which allowed me to layer the highlights and then the shadows and lowlights and stuff, which for whatever reason worked for my brain way better. It made a lot more sense, and I was able to get this in more easily. And I don't know about anybody else, but I really like the way that looks. Like, I love me some trees. I love drawing trees. It's the best part, honestly. It was a lot of fun once I got going. And of course, it's not going to be a big, long part of this video, because once I figured it out, it wasn't anything too crazy. But it was a lot of fun. Here we go. I'm going to be drawing in my tower, and I am using my tracing of the tower as like a structural map, kind of, sort of, just to try and get the perspective at least okay-ish, which, I'll be honest, it still ended up a little lopsided, and it's not perfect. But I did my best. Like I said, I don't do a whole lot of man-made structures, and I'm still working on Drawbox, and so my perspective is not, amazing or anything. And then I'm going to be doing the sky here. Some, fairly simple clouds, because who needs complicated clouds? And then I did the proper, finalized line art for this tower while playing D&D, because sometimes I actually get a decent amount of productive drawing time in while waiting for the other players to take their turns. And this especially, which was fairly fantasy themed, really suited the mood of what we were doing pretty well. So I had a lot of fun, and it was a good thing to be doing while playing D&D. Here I am, trying my best to get those roof lines straight and to make things a bit more interesting, trying to add a bit more detail and stuff and straighten the roof out, which I think looks better in this version than my sketchier one, but still not perfect. But good. I'm fairly happy with it, especially as it's just a background element and isn't supposed to be the main focus anyways. And here's where the white comes in. I know it's technically an off-white cream color, but true white is bland. And I decided, because true white and just white and cream in general is kind of boring to me, that I was going to try and make it look more like an opal-y, opalescent kind of feeling. And I drew these white veins between the different colors and stuff. And then I used a Man, I don't remember the name of that. Blend modes. I think that's it. Yeah. There we go. I used different blend modes and then found one that I really liked that made it look all shiny and opalescent. And then used that and then took a darker color under it to make the roofs pop a bit more. And that really brought out the colors in those areas too. So I like how that turned out quite a bit. That looks pretty cool. Though I was having a bit of a hard time with like contrast and really being able to see those wider lines in some of the lighter areas. And also feeling like the roofs were maybe a bit too bright and garish, which is why I did this fog here. But then I decided it was a bit too much fog and I took some of it away. It was also because it's a bit further away and I just thought it made sense. So I ended up doing an in-between between what I initially did with the fog and what it was before I did any fog. And I put some fog between the trees too because I thought that looked cool. And I'm fairly happy with what I ended up settling on too with that. And I decided not to have the line art because I thought it took a bit too much attention away from the frog oil and it's not supposed to be the main subject, so it just made sense. After that, I went into the tower the frog oil is sitting on, added in some highlights and blended them in with one of the blending brushes that he added in the watercolor pack. And that's basically the last thing I did. After that, I went in and took this texture brush that was added and put it over top of everything in like a slight green hue to make everything look like it goes together, and then that's it. And I think it turned out pretty good. Of course, it's not perfect. I am not perfect, but it's definitely not something I normally would have drawn, which means that this idea was a success, and I had enough fun that I will definitely be doing this in the future. And I hope to make more art-related content on this channel. That's really what I'm hoping this channel will become, is like a art-related channel, because I'm going to be starting an Etsy store with stickers that I'm going to be selling, and I've always wanted to be able to make a living from my art, and honestly, selling stuff on Redbubble ain't cutting it. Redbubble gives you basically nothing, and it's so crowded, nobody ever sees the stuff that you're trying to sell. It's ridiculous. Yeah, anyways, I enjoyed doing this a lot. I did this whole entire recording standing up because otherwise my brain blank. I can't think of nothing. Didn't work very well. I liked doing the recording better with me not sitting in front of a camera. That takes a lot of the pressure off and is very nice. I have some ideas for future videos. I think maybe my next one will be me trying to figure out how, like, okay, I'm not really sure exactly. I'm hoping to get a consistent uploading schedule going, though. That's the dream, that's the plan. We'll see if it happens. I am a busy person working full-time, which I don't like, which there's nothing to be done about it, though. And a brain, stupid goblin brain that doesn't like to cooperate with me. So I do what I can, but I can only do so much. I can only control it so much. But anyways, I appreciate you watching. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I enjoyed talking over my art more than I thought I would, which was pretty great. And I hope you come back and watch my videos again next time. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video and comment down below if there was something that you liked in particular. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.